Good morning. It is a historic day on the national briefing with me, Kelly Nash. Last night, they got the 60 votes in the Senate. The government shutdown is apparently about to end. And I will start by saying thank you to the Democrats who decided to vote with the Republicans. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, Dick Durbin of Illinois, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Tim Kaine, gosh, I can't believe this guy came along, of Virginia, Angus King of Maine, Jackie Rosen of Nevada, Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire. Those are the only ones who had enough sense to realize you are causing immense damage to America at this point. And when I say immense, of course, we're talking about what's going on with the airlines, but in a bigger sense, what's going on with the economy. This government shutdown is having a huge impact on mortgages. It's having a huge impact on just consumer confidence. It just goes on and on. We have no idea what kind of damage we've already created 40 days into this thing. And to be clear, it's not going to be over until probably later this week. There's some procedural moves that have to happen. The Democrats could, in essence, give back the time, but they probably won't because they're a bitter bunch. So they'll get 30 hours for debate on one clause, and then they'll get 30 hours on the other, which means that we'll probably won't get this thing back to the House until Thursday at the earliest. When I say bitter, who am I thinking of? Well, we'll just start off with a very sad, defeated Bernie Sanders.
I understand that the way the process has been developed, it is impossible to delay the votes that are going to take place. And if that were not the case, that is certainly what I would do, because I think it is important that the American people fully understand what is being voted on today.
I think they know. I'm pretty sure they got it, Bernie. And he'll go on and he paints a very sad picture of 50,000 Americans are dying. They are voting to kill 50,000 Americans for no purpose at all other than the corporate greed. Okay, that's not what's happening. You're lying and you're Anyway, Bernie's upset. And so Bernie would drag this out even longer if possible. Could he screw Thanksgiving? If he could, he would. He'd be the Grinch that stole Thanksgiving. You have to salute Donald Trump. Donald Trump played this masterfully. I'm reminded of The Great Godfather Part 2. And this is a young Michael Corleone dealing with a senator.
I want your answer in the money by noon tomorrow.
Senator, you can have my answer now if you like. My offer is this: nothing.
That's exactly what Trump gave up. Nothing. Now, they're going to try to spin this as they got a victory, the 7 that came along. What do we have? We've got Donald Trump has agreed to not fire the people that he threatened to fire that were furloughed or riffed. That seems to be the big concession. But when it comes to the Affordable Care Act, you're going to get a vote on it. That's what they promised. You'll get a vote. We already know the results of that vote. We're not going to give you any subsidies. So that's a wrap. You can try to spin it as a victory all you'd like.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Now, for those of you who feel like this is mean-spirited, what about the people who are going to have their insurance premiums totally jacked? And we've been talking about this now for weeks. That is true, and it is unfortunate. I'm not sure if the president and the Republicans are going to try to make some sort of way to soften the blow, but these are the rates that the Democrats set. This is not, the Republicans had no vote on that. This was in 2022. That's the rates. So like when I hear like the astronaut, from Arizona, Mark Kelly talking about how this is unbelievable. It is not unbelievable because you're the one who set the rates. The Democrats set the rate. So when you see this incredible spike in your insurance premiums, understand that is the rate that the Democrats set. And again, we're gonna let you pull back the curtain. We're gonna open up the kimono. We're gonna let you understand what they were trying to do here. They assumed that they would have power at this point. And when Americans got that sticker shock, that would then allow them to say, well, let us ease the burden. We'll go into single payer. Government makes everything worse. And that is always true. Always. Government always makes things worse. Now, if you're one of those people who've been receiving these subsidies, maybe you've been getting zero premiums and you're thinking, no, it doesn't. Yes, it does, because the quality of the health care has dramatically diminished since the Affordable Care Act was passed. And the reason it did that is because it made it almost impossible. Well, I shouldn't say almost impossible. It raised the bar significantly on what doctors needed to do in order to get paid. And because of the very limited amount, it really crushed competition when it comes to the insurance companies. It drove up prices. Now, let's take a look at two or three different things. Okay. What if back in the 1980s, the government had said, we are going to make telephones universal right? And you could obviously see that. How can an American function without the use of a cellular phone? It puts you at a significant disadvantage. There's health risks to not having a cell phone, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, if you were to go back into the 1980s and buy a bag phone, that bag phone would have cost you at that time a significant amount of money. It was about $3,000 ballpark to buy a bag phone. For those of you old enough to remember bag phones, I never had a bag phone like that, but it was $3,000. What happened in the phone industry is competition. As the American public said, hey, I want a bag phone, that drove down prices. Now, the bag phone couldn't text. It couldn't do anything. It was just a phone, but you could drive around with it in your car. You could walk on the beach with it, those types of things. What was cell service like in the 1990s? Well, cell service ranged from 16 cents a minute up to 45 cents a minute during the mid-90s. That was driven down by competition. Right now, can you imagine if you had to spend 30, 40 cents a minute to talk to somebody on the phone? Or let's go with the text messages. It was 50 cents a text. That's why I used to get angry when people would text me like, what's up, bro? Well, they didn't use bro back then, but it would be like, what's going on? That just cost me 50 cents. And if I respond to you, now I'm $1 into this. And by the way, 1990s dollars were a lot more valuable than today's dollars. Another example of that, Federal Express. What if they said overnight delivery is a universal right? Federal Express launched in the early 70s. Well, when they first started, it was $32 to deliver a package. $32. If you were to look at that in today's rates, that's get ready to sit down. $233 is what it would cost if you were to use the $1973 to today. $233 for an overnight package. So all that free shipping you're getting on, Amazon or whatever, no, it would be $233. If the government had stepped in and said that, it'd probably be even more because, again, they kill competition. What they have done to healthcare is driven up costs exponentially. And it's funny because I'm even looking here. This is a left-wing website, Econofact. And the headline says, fact check, have healthcare costs risen faster than the Affordable Care Act was passed? Answer, no. And then inside the answer, they actually contradict themselves. In 2023 dollars, healthcare spending per person was about $11,150 in 2010. And in 2023, it was $14,500. Again, just dollar to dollar, if you were to use inflation as the rate, it went up over $3,000 per person. That's just in your spending. Never mind with all the taxpayer money going into it and just ballooning these stock prices for the healthcare industry. It is an unbelievable boondoggle that they've put together. The answer is we've got to destroy the Affordable Care Act. We have to reset up and encourage competition in order to get better health care at lower prices. And I believe Donald Trump is the man for the job. He's got an appetite for it. He's here for the fight, and he's here to make America great again.